going to be weaker this way. It should be good. Gonna turn you around. Hello from Tin Man. Soup. We're at the stairs, guys. And guess what? If earlier in the clip of talking about these stairs, I should have looked at the name, but I didn't really think about that. It's maybe something about the stairs to Bigfoot or something similar. And what you're going to notice is you're going to notice these marks, but you're going to notice right there that that is a different moss sitting in there. Once, like I've already done 2 videos on this, and on one of them I noticed a weed was completely gone. It was kind of a bigger one like that, and it was completely gone. So you might even be able to notice that. But earlier in the video, put up a pause, bring up another screen of this video. You can, for verification, like that, I said you can look at this one. You can look at, where was it? Oh, right here. I believe that's been stripped down some. So remember that spot with that rock and stuff like that. You'll notice more chipping and stuff. I think there's a little bit heavier stuff gone right here. Not really much. I think they've gone heavier right here. It's very, they're not being too aggressive. A number of these, you can see the difference in, like, this is them. I'm just not telling you guys that this is them. This isn't them. This bit might be them, but the rest here isn't them. This isn't really them showing too much, but this is being thinned out, so they might be just doing lightly like that, where it's not about leaving a mark, there's actually moss leaving. So there they might have removed moss and got right carried away. That's part of the ADD I talk about a little bit. Oh, look at that big pile. I never came down here. I think that might be new. There might be some added to it or something. But where I think I did notice, see this stuff? Really start to look at this. Oh, there is ants going there. So that's what you do. You come and you observe this kind of stuff and see if it's fake or not. Look and see if you truly believe that. Oh, yeah, I'm going to do well against the Sasquatches, aren't I? But that's partly just my hearing issue is what made me jump there. Not really on my scaring the shit out of me. Jeez, I should have had my earplugs in. But anyway, somewhere around here, remember I pulled out a rock from somewhere. So you might even see some difference. I walked over here or something like that. I talked from down there, 1 or 2 of the videos, and I talked about this crack going all the way up. And I think in different areas you'll notice that it's being a little bit cleaned. Hey Mitch, how's it going? Long time no see, brother. Whoever else is out there, hello from Tin Man. So Mitch, I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this, but this might be something that you want to check out. Tonight, in the dark also, guys, not live, but in the dark, I want to do a video just up the road here. Rock wall, we're mission. We're made of rock here, okay? So we got rocks everywhere. And you start to notice rocks, just big rocks like that, being spaced bigger and stuff like that. But up the road here, I got a video called something like the 50-year-old rock wall. And is it ever transformed a lot, you guys? It's not like brutal, but a lot. You guys are just going to stand up and go, what the hell? Is there a trick happening here? Or is this really legit? I am so, in some respects, happy about what that wall is going to show us. But at the same time, you guys, it's bad news. It really is bad news. It's really sad what you're going to see is going to happen to that rock wall. But in all reality, our highways, they're planning on doing some highway stuff here. So there's a chance we might be losing that rock wall anyways in the next year, 2 years, whatever their plans are. So we'll get as much data out of it as we can. So right here is where I seen more and stuff. Like, look at this. I'm sure you guys are picking up on this. I think this might all be new because up here, I talked about it, there was hardly any, and now we really see where they might have, because you know, think about somebody sneaking in and just working along here at a certain pecking thing compared to getting down onto these levels and stuff. It's a heck of a lot more comfortable right here behind your nice black backdrop at night. Right over here, like right there is a good valley that connects to a highway, which is that river are their highways. These guys are so easily to just transport how they want to. I could see them hopping a ride on a log. I could, you know, just like anybody, you might not want to risk your young so much like that kind of stuff. But these are the guys that have been running around forever. And now what they're doing is they're multiplying their work. They're multiplying their disaster that they do. They're multiplying their amount of tree things. Let me go right here and show you a very interesting thing that I should have gotten a video on, but I'm sure some people trust me to some extent. You see this very first tree right here? See this higher branch right there? Well, that higher branch, hey Mary, how's it going? Oh yeah, everywhere you can hide here, eh? And that's also the train track there too. So the train system itself is a type of highway for them. Rivers are a type of highway. They can get across that river very easily from all that my knowledge is only pointing to. But back to this tree here. I'm proclaiming that through sometime this year here, in the summer here, this is a long section of the branch, and this is a long section of branch. Those things are going to stand right up. They'll be doing that. But what happened here, I was parked here using the shade as the sun was going past here one day. Well, I wasn't parked here, honestly, guys. I was parked right here. So I was able to look over at this guy. And I looked down here, and it happened to be a time when the floor was full of flowers. And what I started looking at was, I started noticing that there were a certain percentage of full flowers like this. But the most percentage is petals that had fallen. Okay, and it was real heavy in petals in this area. And you would look up here, and I got to see this tree go pretty close to flowers and petalless here. Why this one here stayed full. And you can kind of see there's still a fair amount in there that ended up just dying off. There's perfect proof for you. Let's go over here on the drop of it. They still have a fair amount there. But then when we start, okay, there's a few here. Because I'll just tell you what I was thinking. Because it was kind of, this stood out fully pink like that. This did no longer stand out at all really pink. You could see sporadic. But when I also looked down there, it was almost like, usually how I understand flowers, but treeing flowers and stuff, bear with me, I don't know all this information, but I can see these bulbs, these leaflets, do kind of pull out kind of easily. So this is one of my suspectings, is over a natural want of the leaf it gets old and it falls apart. I was thinking that naturally they'll have a lot of petal droppage before the whole stem falls off. And part of how you get that is the stem also has food in it. So those leaves are being energized to the very end. And their nutrients starts to weaken too much, so they start to petal off. Compared to this stem and its nutrients at this part at a strong hold on a branch. Think about that kind of stuff and see where it computes for you. Anyways, so I was going through thinking that the mass amount of flowers that I was seeing down here, I was considering that it's part of their nighttime duties. Like I already talked about, if we could really come into a calculation with it somehow, our flowering trees, especially the smaller style of trees like this, especially the rhododendron style trees, unbelievable how much they've been flowering, how awesome they're flowering here. And another thing that I teach about them is those those rhododendrons are very poor self-pruners. So like these ones maybe are legitimately the stem falls off. But on rhododendrons, they don't do a well job on that. So you yourself go out to some of those rhododendrons out there and you look at some of these ones that get 20 feet tall and so on and so forth. And you look out there and you can see sometimes on some of the plants, pretty much all of the ends of the stems and stuff are pretty flowered, like the tree had been cleaned. And whoever cleans rhododendrons kind of gets what I'm saying on the cleaning, because it's quite a sticky kind of process, but kind of fulfilling at the same time if you're a plant person. Now another thing I want to point out, you see that tree there? I've been talking, a few of these things we've been researching, guys. One thing is that tree there is those branches higher, because those branches, when it did its destructions 2 winters ago, not that just this winter, but 2, those branches were way down here, and now they've stood those branches up to replace the top of the tree. We look at it and we actually think that's how the tree is growing. Those are branches right there. That's how it should be, and a little maybe fuller here. Part of that was because if you really go in there, you see a number of the 45 diagonal downs. You see a few in there right from the surface. So this one right here, what you see right there is you get to see the base of it, right? This tree, and I am not kidding you, you go like this to that tree and you go, and you squish them down to somewhere around that height. Keep most of this length, maybe take away 8 feet sporadically, a foot here, a couple of foot there, a foot there, a foot there, and you still have the same tree basically. But you take this part and you just crunch it where you wind the branches with a double twist in it. Then you see this one where it has that single twist, let's just call that. Double twist it, put another twist in it, so you have a double twister, and you bring that whole kind of top and you twist it back down onto this cover side. Hence the poor growing on this side, because that top was actually kind of down like that. The tree filled in all around thick, and as over this last year they stood the thing really up, and I think they're going to finish that out. I'm really hoping they do, because this will be magnificent footage then. But you do get certain messages out of there, like the filling in of this side of the tree. It is only filling in this year. See those couple of sisters to it? There's 2 there. Exact same thing happened, but they're much smaller of a tree. And why do I keep showing those? Same reason why I showed you guys this tonight. This I've started just videotaping for the last couple of weeks, and it's made changes happen. I've had a witness even standing with me on the earlier times when it wasn't this devastated. And we talked about it. We talked about it like a theory. We talked about it like this is what they could be doing. This is that. And we're saying things back and forth. And then what does it do? It starts to explode on us. At that time, I don't think we talked about how heavily it is actually gapped in between each tread up there. So the tread is the part you step on. That's the that's the tread, and this is the kick. Like if you were to kick when you're walking up. So this is a lot of kick damage. You know, and I hang out here all the time. I use this place for uploading, so trust me, I know this. Right here, you guys, if you bring up the 2-week-old video, you'll see this has been changed out. Holy cow, that has taken hold. I wonder if it shrunk down. I wonder if there's a chance that this stuff still was in an age of shrinking. Okay, let's be straight up with all of it, because I don't have a problem with knowing what's really going on. But when you start looking at it, you're going to see all this different scrapings and stuff. You're going to know a lot of this gravel has changed around here. This is actually, no, this is actually moss here. So this is a moss. I can't tell if that's a moss. Maybe somebody can shoot me a message or something if you think that's maybe been cleaned up right there amongst some moss stuff, because that will be obviously, because what this is cleaned up, but it's just more aggressive. So we're already proving that they're cleaning. We're already proving that they're scratching. This might even be one of their little scratches as they're sitting there, where they scratch right on top of the rock. I'm not going to go with the rock scratch conversation right now because it gets in pretty wickedly deep. I have a feeling this pile built up a little bit. Because that's what happened. I noticed, I remember on one of this one right over here, guys. I believe this little face right here became more clear. That's fuller in there. Like we're talking, oh, look at that dirt. Is that dirt coming down onto here now, guys? You see this pile right here and stuff? I did on one of the videos, I point the camera like that so we might get that corner. I'm just excited about that. And I'm gonna turn the camera around here. See if anybody's got any questions or anything. Hey, everybody. So, yeah, for anybody who's just come on here, thumbs up are super appreciated and stuff. Even if, if you return to hear me, you're returning to hear me. I think that deserves a thumb. You can say on there, I've had Josh from the Yowie Down Under, and he has straight up on some of his comments said, I don't agree with you even on that thing. And what that does is it allows me to open up and explain to him, this is why I'm saying it, Josh. And on a couple of those things that it has happened on, I believe his insight to it changed a bit. I'm not saying he came over to my side. I don't even remember what the things were, but I recall that his insight did change a little bit. So ask me the crazy questions. Ask me why you think this goes on. I think it's a type of wear and tear. I think they're just natural, kind of like an ant, just like a bird, just like us we think we're kind of unnatural because we can do something. They're doing things, so maybe they're thinking they're unnatural. But, oh yeah, so back onto the awesome piece of information. I talk about that they're doing this a little bit here, right? Some of us are going, oh yeah, whatever with that and stuff. They're really doing all that, right? Well, up the road, a number of months back, I don't even recall at this moment, maybe even a year ago I started. I have a couple of videos on this 50-year-old wall up the road that a lot of it's been prediction. A certain amount was, holy cow, what's that work? That resembles the destruction work. Got my focus on it, got me thinking about the wall. Because when I first started even viewing in on that wall, I recognized this one destruction. And through that destruction, it seems that it's grown a little bit. It's just where the wall drops lower, like this, onto the lower section of the wall. But it doesn't stand out hugely for other people. So it's kind of been, well, I can see changes in it, but it's a little slow and it might not be good enough to pass on to you guys on a video. Last couple of weeks here, I've noticed great change, and that's why I decided to do it in the evening here, is for the shadow effect. I'll do it in the evening in the dark a bit here, put up the video, everybody can observe it, and then maybe in the next day or two, on a nice day, I'll do the same area at a nice part of the day if we feel like we need those two effects. But I tell you guys, like, what I would be saying is we really need to know what they're really willing to go through to upset this kind of stuff, and how big of a moment. Because I'll tell you right now, I don't have a problem with them coming in here one night and absolutely tearing these stairs out. Not a problem. Not a problem without us knowing. Oh, it's not going to happen. But I say, from what I've seen, what I've experienced, I don't have a problem with thinking they can do that. And I know they've worked scores marks, scratching marks on our train bridge foundation. The one foundation that's right on the the riverside on the other side there. I haven't gotten to any of the other ones that are out in the water or anything to kind of see that. Haven't been able to go underwater to see any of that kind of stuff. So it just makes you have a question that, is it always just going to be light maintenance where we can always catch up on it? Okay, these stairs get so bad, let's rip them out and put in some new ones anyways. We'll put it in our budget, so on and so forth. Meanwhile, we lose some pretty cool heritage that we're not even really taking very good care of anyways. Now it won't affect them. Not necessarily. If all of a sudden there was a lot of people around here, a lot, then that will slow them down. I think if you probably change the lighting system here, like we do have that bit of light, but it does still cast that big shadow that we can already see and starting to work even on this light. And so it's a really easy sitting area. You don't have to worry about any car until it's obviously it's pulling into the parking lot. Then there'll be this level of awareness, and then they just turn around and slip and do whatever they're doing. I suspect a whole bunch of small somethings. There's no way that we can't get around small somethings that are working way up high in those trees. Hey Mark, how's it going? You made one, right on. So let me look at some questions or comments. Hey Mark, you have to make sure you go back and listen to this one, brother. It's an update on the stairs. They've hit the stairs pretty good, and later tonight I'm going to hit that 50-year-old rock wall. So if you guys want to refresh your memory on the 50-year-old rock wall, because that's when you're, and why I'm walking there, I'm going to make good statements. I'm going to say, guys, no chance this was like this. No chance. The videos I have might not be perfect duplicates, but from now on, I'm going to walk a pattern and kind of try to do that, so you know it's easier for us to kind of register it. And I know you guys like to watch a lot of different things. Septian man, yeah. We spoke and watched the videos. Yes, we have spoken. Oh yeah, okay. I know you. I think it was you who honked at me the other day. Nice bushes to hide behind. I was going to say a while ago, moss is very nutritious. Okay, and they would know that. Guaranteed, they would know that. Mary, awesome. And moss is a huge transplanter of theirs. A huge transplanter around here. I think in a lot of ways they're bringing on kind of more of a rainforest effect is what they're up to. Sup? Not much. Boop. There's the stairs. These got more heavily hit. You know, we're not talking necessarily a lot. It's kind of just squeaking some stuff in here, Mark. But up on here and downward on a number of the downward plateaus, especially up on that area there. And I showed it on the earlier video. Don't know if I quite finished it, but that tree over there then still has that fair amount of bend that it, you know, the smallness of that part of the tree there had almost like, it was almost like fully duplicated bend. And it's taken the, you know, let's call them two different twists that they were involved in, and that one's pretty much straight in the up on the top region, the twist right out of it, and the lower one is still working on a bit of a twist. But so right in front of this one, right here, so right in front of this one. Oh, and look at that. I think that's been gone down even deeper. What I'm seeing here is I'm seeing a little bit of claw work, or maybe they used then a rock to scratch that, but it's given me kind of the feeling like but then this here, see, because you know, if you were using a rock to scratch this out, how do they move that? Like, what size of a rock? They obviously wouldn't necessarily be using this rock because it is cement and it just continues to break down. Obviously they don't mind the old chemicals in old concrete. You know, it's not an irritant to them in some ways, because there is chemicals in here, right? There's hardening chemicals and stuff that, you know, maybe this old concrete, they're completely dead, but I know they basically live in rocks forever. So you see a lot of, just see that, wham, wham, just different spots where they're just hitting stuff and scratching it off. You might even end up being able to see where they're whacking at some rocks. I hope the camera stays good. I'm coming up to show you something that's awesome, you guys. Now what you're starting to see here is, remember on the island, for a long time, guys like you, Mark, and stuff, you got to kind of try to go with this. But remember on the island, I was talking about them doing scribing that draws maybe like, what's the hardening word I'm trying to think of right now? You know what I'm saying? Anyways, so back here, because I never connected with it back here. I connected with it in Victoria on the island. And then I'm starting to, I'm hanging out around here. And, I look here. And so basically, what I've said on this stuff before is what I truly do believe is that somehow with their claw they come along and they can make a scribe here. It becomes, let's see if I can just see what I think they've maybe scribed as a starter. Right here. Okay, and right here. This looks like a pretty good starter. So this is what I have actually found before, guys. Is that I found a start like this. And then I found where they've become deeper. And then I have found where within this, maybe you see the scribe and then it comes to this and you can still see the scribe line. That's in part what this concentration is happening right there. See the little black bunny? And, yeah. What's the word I'm thinking about for... We have it in our bones and stuff. Calcium. There we go. I think this might be a type of calcium. So right here we have concrete. Have I ever seen it just on rock? Where I believe it's a pure rock and it shows this? Yes. Out in Victoria. Right here, all the symptomatic spots that I'm seeing look like they're all crossing. See how it's right around the edge? They're all crossing, or they're not crossing, let's say, an actual, say a turn down here or something, and where it's really going across the rock, and we can see that then effect there. That would help you guys a lot. But I'm telling, go look for it yourself. So when you're going out there, Mark, and you're going across, and you believe Bigfoot might live in this bush here, and there's some rocks over there and stuff, go look at the rocks. If you don't want to tell them you know all their information, then don't be necessarily going up to it like this, like I'm doing. You don't know what they're thinking right now because I'm doing that. But I'm telling you right now, I know 100% that they are watching me. 100%. I don't have a problem saying that at all. Where I stand, not a problem at all. So, that's what it is. It's real. Yeah, I love you. Some spinach. Right on. Little Popeye. Oh yeah, my shirt you seen there. That's right. Yes, they are watching you. Huh? Mary knows. So, see, I think maybe when I was on the top and I've been walking down, I'm wondering if these things have been a little bit cleared out a little bit better with like that, and then plus they are just showing more of weight. You never know, maybe there was some moss on top of this type of moss on top of that type of other moss. Many times when I'm saying, hey guys, they're affecting these trees at the malls, where they really affect the trees with moss and stuff, are malls. They really like to do that. And every tree you go look at, they generally will have 3 or 4 different species of moss on it out in the middle of a parking lot. And some of them get in a mall and stuff, and some of them get ridiculously full and ugly like this, where they're just killing off the trees, it seems to me, or whatever. That might be a little bit cleaner in there. These are some good shots to take. Just going like that. I'm not taking any pictures with this. Obviously I can't actually with live. For a minute there I started thinking I was just talking to myself. Check out this. Oh no, there's spider web and stuff. There was probably already going on. Unless somebody's doing the spider web trick, right? Look at this. I think that's a deeper penetration right there, guys. I don't recall thinking it was that deep. One thing I was thinking about when I go and visit the rock wall later, it's too bad I couldn't do it live there, but when I go and do that rock wall, check it out. What, in part, I thought for the night viewing of it, I'm going to have my lights on and stuff because I want to get some shadows and such. And they're going to be watching me do this. And I have found before that at least my thoughts have gone, hey, did I slow them down over here? Or have they not come into these part of the woods again just because I was here those couple of weeks back? There's been times I've thought that. But comfort I've noticed change. I don't know if any of you guys are getting better at looking at some of my videos that I just put up there and starting to realize that you need to look for things that are called finger glasses. It's one of the hottest things they like to use around here. And when you get an authentic set of fingers that are just shaped kind of round around their eyes, that doesn't have anything to do with glasses. It has to do with twigs. It has to do with them looking through there. And Dad saying, hey, you look like you're peeking through a couple of twigs, you know, umpteen centuries ago. And then one of them went, hey, Dad, what if I make them round like this? Hey, that looks really good. Well, it's easy to hold my fingers like this. Okay, well, then you just go trick all the tigers that way. You know, we got lots of imagination. We just have to put the story to use. Nobody has this kind of a story, and I'm not making it up. I just kind of see how these outcomes can be coming true. So let's go here. See how that's pretty. You guys might be able to see it pretty good, like the scratchedness of it and stuff. So this is just a stone. So let's see if I see where, you know, at one time somebody was getting carried away and see, and it's funny, how come really so many of these rocks we're looking at don't have that white? You know, when we're around so many times we see these stones with white stuff running, white lines. Is it because of the type of rock? You know, and then I show you that thought right there of that white line up there. Alrighty, peace out. I hope you guys are getting into the information. I know it can be heavy, I know it can be a little bit too much and so on and so forth, but the thing is, it's legit. You know, am I gonna be off on degrees and so on and so forth? Yeah, I guess I am, but we who've been hanging around for a while, you know, you guys got to be seeing some answers. You know, you look at this, when I show you that rock wall tonight, and you go back and look at the other 50-year comparison one, and you just get some stills from it or something. And yeah, you're gonna get blown away. Alrighty, what's this? You're very thoughtful. Please be careful. That's Marianne saying that. Thank you very much, Marianne. And yes, I will, you know, I do some really crazy, dangerous stuff. But I do all of the crazy, dangerous stuff in an aware thought of that moment. So that's the best of the safety that I can take, you know. You know, I'll put one of my nice hunting knives on lots of times if I'm at night and I decide to go further than a couple of 100 feet away from my car or something. You know, I think it's all right to kind of make a statement that you're tough. Even they might be able to look at us and go like this, but you know those 400-pound WWE wrestler type guys, even if they look at a 200-pound guy, they don't automatically think they could just annihilate the guy and kill him and eat him. They do realize that even with that, it is a fight. So I kind of think to myself, you never know, they might not know how special they really are, so they might not really think about it. on a thing of they might have some intimidation somehow. Think about that. You know, that, I don't know if you've heard, but I got the one video up, happened across the water here. This, let's just say September, it will be approximately 2 years that a guy across the river there growled at me and thrashed bushes and stuff. And you know, it always was something in the back of my mind a little bit, if he felt intimidation there at all himself. Right? Because if you listen to the video and stuff, not that I was being aggressive, but I was willing to talk to him. And I was willing to say, hey, what's up? You know, and I didn't sound terrified. You know, I don't even think I was giving off bodily, you know, like my heart rate probably didn't change very much or anything like that. So, hey, right on. Cryptozoology guy, right on, from Kentucky. How are you, brother? Good to see you come in. You know what? I don't know if you know where I am on these guys, but I talk a heck of a lot different than most people. Okay, you might connect with some of it, but I bet you I talk even more than you. And so what I'm suggesting, if you like, is make sure you watch the front of this video, because I talk about these stairs that I've been watching for a couple of weeks now, because they're starting to be defaced by somebody at night. And tonight I'm going to get some more footage on a 50-year-old wall. Like, you know, it was made many years ago. I would say at least 50 years. And it's being, just in months, starting to be picked at. And it's a form of research that I've actually been working towards for a couple of years now, when I started noticing their need for picking at rocks, breaking rocks, fracking rocks. I talk a lot about fracking and stuff. And then if you jump deep in the rabbit hole, a lot of people talk about these weird caves, different places around the world and stuff. And sometimes we think that they might be made by guys 1,000 years ago and so on and so forth. Well, maybe in some cases they're just being made now. You know, not every worthy guy is able to look at this and realize this is fresh work being done compared to the rest of it. A lot of people might just think, oh no, it's just all, you can tell it's just deteriorating like that for years and stuff. This is all just gone on in weeks here. You know, so I know when I look at these rocks right away, I can't help but when I just walk by, look for a fresh face on it or something, where a guy couldn't help it and he went by and he quickly, however they do it, quickly just takes off a little corner. And that's the type of thing that'll catch my eye. And when it catches my eye, then I just get in there and I look a little bit closer and I'll look and see if I can see some kind of a scratch in it at all. If I can see a scribe. You know, sometimes when we're gonna break something, we make a little almost indent in one part of it when we're gonna break it. You know, I look for these kind of things for, you know, proof in all the pudding. And this 50-year-old wall tonight, I hope sinks in with the people that are listening to this video, and I hope that video really makes you realize that I gotta really give Tin Man's thinking more maybe support. Like, just, you gotta analyze it better. You know, you got to figure it out yourselves. Like, it's too hard for me to get emotionally attached and tell you guys with passion that there's something really weird going on. Thing that helps me with that now, you guys, is I'm going on 2 years of living with, like I said, that guy growling at me. I'm working on 2 years of that. And so when he did it, I was about 6 weeks into it. I talked like I was tough enough to stand there and question him. But when I walked away from it and I went home, I got scared shitless. See, I was living in a place then, And then it came time for me to move, and that's when I decided to take my adventure on the road and really get in many days, just different times, just going into different areas that I know them and hanging out with them and sitting there sometimes and singing for them and going into their creek and, you know, showing respect at the same time. I'm a type of guy that, you know, I'd be careful of flashing my privates out there and stuff like that, because you just don't know really what kind of attitudes we're dealing with yet, and we really don't. There's scary stories amongst non-scary stories, and I've had a growling, and I know his final growl was basically saying, "I'm serious, leave." You know, something like this. Might have been even worse than that, right? And also, if you really heard that full story, he tracked me. No, he came to, not tracking, but he came all the way to stalking me. So stalking is the step before death. And instead of choosing death, he chose a warning. And if you really think about it like that, I guess hats off to that guy, or else we wouldn't have this much of the story. And I honestly am telling you guys, I can't find anybody else telling the story as much as me. See all these trees right here, you guys? Every one of these trees, even that beautiful one right there in the middle, along all these other ugly ones that we hardly ever realize we got, look at that thing, you know, everything is ugly except for one tree. And that's because they mucked up that one last season probably. And these ones, they decided to hit a lot of them. Those ones straight through in the center behind, kind of in there, those silver leafed ones, those ones they didn't really mess much with, other than they stood them up taller and stuff. But a lot of these, yeah. And so that's what these guys do, is this is part of their work, is all these trees right here. You get into lawn plucking and stuff. You get into all different rock. They get into moss transferring and all that kind of stuff. They help all these flowers bloom and stuff. You know, lots of the stuff that you see end up being killed off for a reason. They kill it off. Look at the nice ramp branch they got off of that. See that tree right in the middle of there? And then they got kind of a 50-degree branch. It's not quite a 45, but I call them 45s because they hit close to around 45-degree angles coming down so much, those branch breaks. So whatever that's all about, we know it's going to be them. So Kentucky, what he's saying, they are very curious creatures, they are. So I'm going to go back here. Hello, Marianne. Hi, Kentucky. Your camera just got pixelated for the third time. Yeah, you know what? It's because when I get too far away from that, that's my source. For the third time, they are right. Oh, is that what you're thinking? I don't think it's that myself. I don't think they have interference with my cameras anymore. I can't pull that thought out anymore when I'm to the stage I've gotten. I think it's, I just don't find that effective, really. They're invisible right now. Hi, Kentucky. Hello, Marianne. We live in the mysterious world. Most are too busy to see. Yeah, well, and that's the thing. I'm really lucky what I'm able to do, you know, and that's the truth of it. And, you know, it's really a blessing in some kind of a disguise. It's not okay. Yeah, I get you. Most don't want to see. They are everywhere curious creatures. Some, like humans, are meaner than others. I hear you. Ever gift them? Yes, I do. Not every place and not every time, but you know, and most of the time now I aim towards the kids. There's a candy that I buy, and there's also marbles. And the last couple of places I've put some stuff out, you know, when I went there, because I hadn't researched my videos or anything pre-going there, I was kind of lost. But my first habitat, I plan on going there. I remember where I put some marbles and a couple of candies in there that I put a video up of. And if they pass them up, man. They're having some willpower, because I was getting to the thought that they really like those candies a lot. So yeah, maybe in the next day or two I'll try to make my way out there. Say hi, Crystal and David, biggest fans. Hi, Crystal. Hi, David. I'm glad you're big fans. Is that what you meant? Or are you saying hi to me? And then we got David saying you should watch Thinker Thunker channel. I have watched Thinker. I haven't watched them for a while. I don't go on many people's channels. A couple of guys that are close guys here, but I hear you. He does. He's great at his work and stuff. I've shown messages to him, and you know, him and Tony and stuff. They probably come on my video because I know I've sparked their curiosity. A number of guys, I have sparked their curiosity. Part of how I've done that is also on their videos. I've helped the guys out a number of times and stuff, and so if I don't go on their video, I don't help them out so much, and because they've never really completed a conversation with me on you know, on my subject level and stuff. So, you know, the people who complete a conversation get more of a loyalty kind of conversation out of me and stuff. I've waited this long now. I'm understanding that this has taken a long time, and it, you know, in all reality needs to take a long time. If you guys connect with what I talk about with these trees, then you do. And you know that we're connecting into something huge, because it's worldwide, all this tree stuff. And the people who don't yet are kind of curious, but they don't yet. They're so far off still yet. It might only be some kind of a little zap. But most of the zap comes from when you walk out into the forest yourself and you just start following some of the way out things that I'm talking about as character markings on the trees and stuff, and character breaks, you know, whatever, and then you start visiting with them all the time and stuff like that, and then you start to realize, yeah, it actually is a true story. It's not some kind of a dream. I'll pop in and see Thinker again. What's my biggest encounter? My biggest, I have to say, is my first, because, and it's called my first face-to-face. It's my first encounter, and it's my biggest because it made me realize at that moment, okay, so it's fully 100% now. But, you know, my thing in the last couple of years, I don't know if you've been around much, but I have a very active story. My first encounter happened basically on what I call the day 13th of this journey, and then at day 15th I had another encounter that I can't say is 100%, but it's on video, and when you watch the video you can tell it's 100%, but I just don't commit to that word. But on my third encounter, what was on day 1819, it I also say was 100%, because I got it also on video and I also did visual on it. But I tell you, that guy's pretty special, because he's really freaky out there. I've never heard anybody really describe something like that. So if you can go see him, he's called, you know, he's got baboon in it. He's got a couple of different views up, and he's got a long video where, you know, I call him a left side profile of a baboon looking guy, you know. There's baboon in the title and stuff. If you go into my playlist and you look at either my top 100s or my 100%, something like that, then, or my favorites, maybe it's under my favorites. In 1987, you had your first face-to-face? You like that title, my first face-to-face? Oh, you tell your story on your channel too? Right on. I will for sure. I don't know if I can. Yeah. No. I was just checking to see if I could even. I'm not sure if I'm sub to yours. I don't think I'm sub to your channel. But so that's my thing, guys. How long does it take for you to spot a Bigfoot? Long, long time. Have I ever, so this is David saying, how long does it take you to spot a Bigfoot? And, you know, I've had a lot of animal experiences. And I think somehow my experiences through life have helped my success. So to really answer a question like that, I think it's pretty tough. But for me to actually go in amongst them, anywhere's around here, I can go in and I can tell if I'm in a bit of a light area, a heavy area, like a heavy in number area or a heavily used area with maybe lesser numbers. There's different ways to do that. And I can feel very positive when they're around. I can pull out my camera lots of times, and if I'm patient, I can at a number of times get them on video. And yeah, it takes actual training to be able to make your eyes work better. So all you people who want to just see Paddy, that's where you get to go see Paddy. Where you want to see all, you know, other ones that we have that are contested as fake all the time, like there's that one Independence Day or something like that day that is, I don't know, at the end of the day, I think the way there's something about it that just tells me fake. But Paddy, nothing tells me fake. From day one, I could tell Paddy was real, but I didn't think about him much. From 1964. And that's part of the thing that I get to see on my own videos and know where I've stood and know that I've been in a whole bunch of places that maybe even people haven't even been in for years. And you know, I get to pick up on these different trails and stuff. And this was all even early stuff. And I got the type of common sense to be able to think about the practicalness about what our wildlife can really do in trails around here. And they can do practically nothing for leaving a trail. That's how much we have for wildlife around here. Even when you go up onto the little mountains back there and stuff like that, how the deer are zipping through there and doing all their stuff, it makes no sense for them to even want to follow the same path unless there's an existing path. When they come across comfort, they like to walk on comfort sometimes and go look for their next meal. But they're not into, I gotta go walk on that path again to make sure I'm making my path. So it makes you think, well, who are making all those paths? And that's who's making all the paths are all these night guys that work all this stuff. And our path system has become very heavy. I'm 52 years old and I've been walking around in these trails around here forever. And I always have looked for paths to walk on. So I had a certain amount of understanding about a percentage of paths, and those numbers have gone a lot bigger. And yeah, sure, there's bike breakers who break in new trails and real trail makers and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not necessarily talking about paths on that kind of a level and going through that kind of terrain that we generally have those people. I've worked on, I'm trying to go through my mind here and see if I've to some degree worked on trails. I've worked on trails where I've helped price out work for building the trails. And I've worked along with companies that have done an extensive amount of trail building. And yeah, so it's all part of the formula for me saying this is part of the reason why I was one of the first to click into this, or a change in the history of looking at them or something. Whatever's gone on, that made me be able to reflect and start telling people, no, this isn't an ice storm or a windstorm that affects our trees so drastically. Even out on our shorelines. Out on our shorelines, go and hang out with windstorms and stuff. Go there. I'm not talking about, you know, killer things. I'm talking about just regular storms. Go hang out there and listen to how much you hear branches breaking and stuff. Hopefully you're not being fooled by a bunch of Bigfoots around, because there are stories of those guys being up in trees and swaying them back and forth and stuff when there's a bit of wind going on, and you know, so this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with foolers, mimickers. I gave them those nicknames a very long time ago now, 2 years ago almost, when I started nicknaming them that. I don't know if I've ever heard anybody talk about how they fool us so much, how they've fooled us for all these years and stuff. Most people just talk about that they're spirited animals or spirited beings that are out in this forest and stuff like that. And I have a different look on it now and say, no, we've just been fooled a lot. And I'm putting my money on that they can't go invisible. Is there something out there that can go invisible? I don't know. But I know the guys that I put up on video a lot of times and stuff, I know that I can see them lots of times. And I lots of times am doing the same prank that they're doing to me. They trick us humans all the time. Well, I'm trying, I could die any second, guys. My battery's very low here, I'm getting the warning, but yeah, they trick me. So I trick them back. Do I trick them back every time? No. But I trick them back sometimes to be able to try to watch them. And yeah, if you want to know how I do that, maybe you ought to come out for a lesson. So whoever, you know where I live in British Columbia. I could meet you anywhere probably too if it works out properly. I'm the type of guy that I don't have money to go up into the interior. But if somebody's inviting me up into the interior, then we could make it work. And I'm not talking about me getting a paid vacation coming up there. I'm talking about me coming up there and just informing other people, because we need to know what this is about, because it's going to keep getting bigger and bigger, and there's going to be more like me that are saying very same things. And maybe you're one of those people who want to start saying the real issues of what Bigfoot's going on, and to be able to come out for a free vacation where it's just your cost to get here, and you be able to go out there and walk and get information you won't go get in many other places. And there's some pretty devoted researchers out there now that are connecting with me and would probably vouch for me pretty strong on that. And yeah, so it's a full-out invite. Even the people who irritate me. So here we go. A parallel universe, portal existing. I don't get any of that. I believe you're saying you know your Bigfoot. I believe I know them very well in this area for sure. I've never casted any tracks. When I came across really good tracks was in my first 13 days when I was coming up to that my first face-to-face. I kid you not, man, I came across couple of hundred where I was just kind of giving up on the numbers. I think it even got to a point where I think, guys, now I'm throwing out the number 400. Anyways, there was never anything that is as awesome as some of the awesome stuff we see out there in this cast shape. Or if I put my own foot into some really good stiff mud and lifted my foot out there and it sat really nice. There is nothing ever quite as awesome as that. But there was more than enough that gave me a whole bunch of information. And to maybe even, I need more information about this, guys, and keep in mind my battery might die here. But I want to know, because I came across a lot of information telling me that there's two kind of breaking points in their foot. Not just kind of like that center arched kind of thing that shows up in a lot of great big Sasquatch type print things, where when you look at them, it kind of looks like it resembles our torso thing of a foot. These ones had more of a break that is almost like it seemed like it was on a diagonal line of the foot digit, the toe digits, where they connect onto the foot. It almost seems like there's a hump break there, and also directly right in front of the heel. And one of the things that, if that is at all true, and it really, in so many of those videos, we're talking almost 2 years ago now, I'm just reflecting on, but they felt so strong in there that I really was desiring to find out if anybody else has ever come across that, or you've heard people talking about that or something. And one of the big things about it was that it really helped me, and maybe it made me kind of almost see those things. I don't know, but I believe I seen them. But for the efficientness of climbing big evergreen trees and such like that, you think about it. If you're bent, your foot can kind of have an extra turn at its toes and an extra turn at the heel. Think about both feet, 1 foot on either side of the tree there. Think about how well that would help you being able to be just scooting around a tree and different things like this. So keep it in mind when you're looking at, when you're searching out for those feet, that arch system, double arch system, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if I've ever seen a dog man really, or if it's Bigfoot in some kind of a way impersonating a dog-looking guy. But I actually do have what I still continue to refer to as Bigfoot, Bigfoot in family, Bigfoot family and friends, because I find them all together. I have in a video where I say, I can't remember the name of it, but I call it my first real image, and there's a few of them there, but the one standing there really awesome. Gives me that childhood memory that I've always had of when you see the statues, how they look. Like they kind of just look like a big, talling, straight ape more than a blocky ape, right? With the face where you see the gray around the eyes and you see the big lips, can make out a noise a bit. Well, I got one like that finally on, and I might call it something like that, where it's my first real 100% looking Sasquatch. And enjoy that if you like. So that's a Sasquatch. But then I have on another video where most of the time when I tell people about